Yes, and welcome to another Prix tutorial. I'm Briggs, and I'm going to be taking you through Otley Grand Prix, one of the best races on the national circuit calendar in Great Britain. This being one of the famous ones, it's a huge amount of riders, 120. We're starting at about 100th right at the back, and we've got a lot of work to do. There's been some amazing winners of this race over the years, and I'm hoping either me, Joe, or Ollie are going to be one of those winners added to the list. What's also important in this race is to try and get a top 10 finish. That being that the next round of the National Circuit Series is at Otley. It's a very hilly, hard circuit race that blows to pieces straight away. If you're at the back on that tight, narrow circuit, you're going to pay for it throughout the race, like I did last year. So big goals today, try and get Joe Holt the win there. We've got a plan that I try and lead him out around the last corner and he kicks on and takes the win, and I hold on for a top 10. Ollie's just come off some illness. We're hoping he's going to be able to get in the mix and help us out in the final few kilometres too. As I said, we started at the back, 120 riders, but we're in good company. Ben Chilton there, he's freaking awesome. He actually gets a top 5 in this race. We've got Rob Scott, he's absolutely lit up this race in the past before. Jim Brown's around us, and even I think Rob Donaldson from Trinity, who's been on some fine form, is in this race too. Some St. Piran lads, we're in good company. Will Smith, it's not the worst thing here starting at the back. It is a lot better if you start at the front, but you've got to line up super early. 120 riders, it's a big wide course, it's super fast. We'll be averaging about 48k an hour in this race. Power, it's a grippy one. Roughly in this race, around the normalised power 400 mark, and for someone that's 72 kilos, it's quite grippy for me. Anyway, this is the opening lap. As you can see, we've just gone up the hill. It's a very, very long drag. It starts with a little kink chicane and then kicks up and then drags all the way to the top. Do a little hairpin round the top and then come down this long road downhill going, 50, 60, maybe even 70 kilometers an hour in places. It does narrow up a little bit. It gets sketchy. There's often crashes here, especially in the last few laps. So yeah, we're going to take our time and try and move up. Like I said, the game plan here is to, for me, try and get a top 10 and try and get Joe a good solid lead out. Often in this race, it is a bunch sprint, but riders can sneak away if a good solid group gets working together and the bunch starts to not work. We're right at the back right now, and our main goal for this first sort of 10 minutes is try and move up. I'd like to think that I have some good form coming off of British Circuit Champs. I was going to do a video for that. I didn't run an onboard camera because I was doing all the aero gains trying to win it. I didn't win. I ended up 7th, I think. Just missed out on a podium in the bunch sprint. But I was happy with how my legs were. I'm kind of messed up the start, and I know I've got the legs to get me to the front of the race and then be active in it. But this race was particularly fast from the start. There's already people kind of dripping off the back. As we just complete one lap, we're going to come through up the hill for the second time, and you're about to see how many watts we do just to stay up the front and try and move up a few spaces. We're not even at the front, we're at the back right now. So we started with 800, we're back up to 800, and we're just sitting in the wheels here. This is the little kick. It flattens out a little bit and dips down, but then it goes back up, and we decide there's already gaps in front of us. It's only lap 2, and we've got to shut down some gaps. So we're already wasting energy. We're doing 60k an hour, and it looks like our heart rate is already at like 160, creeping up to 170 very quickly now, even almost approaching 180. But like I said, this race, a bit of chaos here. 120 riders, huge variety and ability. Often World Tour riders have done that. For some reason they were denied entry for this one due to UCI boring regulations. But we got some great riders like Ollie Wood, who's just won the National Circuit Champs, Jim Brown, Rob Scott, the Trinity lads. There's some very, very good riders in this. So have no doubts it's going to be fast and furious. We get to the top of the climb. We've still got to do 300 over the top. I've skipped through the back section now because honestly it's just about staying in the wheels and trying to save as much energy as possible really, and leave a little bit of a gap and roll back onto the bunch in the into the corners and out of the corners, because people love to dive bomb in this circuit. It's very easy to dive bomb. It's so wide and it's very inviting too. It always disrupts the flow. Bloody hell, it's annoying. Some particular riders are terrible for it. as you can see here, we're halfway up the climb on the 3rd lap, maybe the 4th lap or so. I think we're 10 minutes into the race, and maybe it's the 4th lap, and we are just sending it up the side. I think we're still maybe like 80 to 60 to 80 riders back. You know, we've got a long way to go. But yeah, we're spending a lot of energy here. I'm not really sure if I should have been spending this much energy so early on. We're 12 minutes into this race. It will be about an hour long, just over an hour. And one thing I should know with Otley, and I've experienced it a few times, is that eventually it is going to park it, and the front of the bunch will slow down, particularly up the climb, you know, when everyone's sort of done strutting their stuff, showing everyone how strong they are, and trying to kick up the climb. Eventually it does sort of fan out and slow down. But we get to this bit, I think maybe on the 4th or 5th lap, when we are 15 minutes in, it looks like. I just think, man, now's the time to go. We're like approaching 1,000 watts coming up the kick, and I've just had enough. I can see the race attacking from the front when I'm coming over the top of the downhill, when everyone's at the bottom of the climb. You can really see the motorbike like stringing some riders away, and I think now's the time to go. So I'm doing, like I said, started with 1,000, holding 600 watts now, just flying up the bunch, trying to move up. Now, was this a good idea? I knew I had good legs. I had a bit of confidence going into this race. I thought like I maybe could do a very good result, or help my teammate do a very good result at the very least. And perhaps that was just a bit needless. You know, I've moved up 20 riders there. The bunch has fanned out a little bit, as I said it would. But really, if I just kept my cool, I could have saved a couple 100 watts in effort there, and just rode into the back of this group, because you can see everyone's sort of parked it a little bit, and I'm still able just to sneak around the outside, which is one of my favourite lines to do on this part of the circuit. It's a good way to move up without having your flow disrupted too much. You can just keep your pace on, but I'm still doing like 500 watts, and it slips down to about 400 to 300 just sitting in the wheels on the downhill, trying to get aero. Luckily, this aero that I've been riding is absolutely beautiful, real quick, especially when I whack those new Vittoria tyres on, and I'm able to kind of follow the wheels quite easily. So I've got Ed Morgan to my right there saying, man, this is hard, and I'm going, yeah man, it is. But here we go, coming into the bottom section again. I've classically gained 20 places, and I then had some chumps just come and dive bomb me needlessly, just to be overtaken again in a little while's time. I don't know why they waste energy just like slamming the brakes on like that. Like if they just sat on my wheel, it'd be easier and I'd get them to the front, but hey man, they do what they want to do, right? So we are now 20 minutes in. I think I come across maybe a back marker there, and I just give him a little tap, slam it through the middle, fly up the side. Again, every time you get to this section, it is hard. I was quite shocked at how hard it felt. Now, I had driven 5 hours that morning to get there, and I must say that the first few laps my legs were so stiff. I tried to do a good warm-up, did a good warm-up on the rollers, but I was so stiff, and I could really feel it in my legs. And I say I got to around about this point, 20 minutes in, and as you can see from the footage that you've just seen, I was clearly feeling quite strong, and being able to move up a few riders as I just have a go at that rider, asking if it was worth it. You knew I was going to ride back on the wheel. I don't know why he came past me, but then he gets angry. I had a little go at him. He comes flying past here, and then I'm sure you can guess what's going to happen at the next corner. I'm not pedaling. I'm saving some energy. They're all slamming on the brakes in front of me. I'm just tapping the brakes. I see a little gap, and I take the racing line, carry the momentum out, and once again I'm back in front. And I say to him, look man, I just want an easy race, just want to get through this, and we keep it all good and gravy. But man, this is one of the big problems in this race. It is dealing with the constant battle for position. I feel like when you have 120 riders, it's strange, because you know there's only about 10 to 20 riders that can realistically win this race, but everyone fights and battles for that position mid-pack like their life depends on it. And it's quite frustrating when you're trying to move up, conserve some energy and get to the front of the race just to race it, but you've got people just dive bombing you, disrupting your flow. I guess that's just part of racing, right? But as I said earlier, I wasted a lot of energy flying up the side of the bunch, trying to do Johnny Big Balls, look how strong I am, 1,000 watts, maybe move up a few places, just for it to fan out and bunch like this, when I could have just sat on the back the whole time, waited for this moment, and then just send it up the bunch. Now, I'm only doing 300 watts here, and I've pretty much got myself at the front now. I'm slotting myself on Jim Brown's wheel, always a great wheel to be on. And we've got Bob Donaldson there, 2 riders that I've just mentioned that are going to feature heavily up the order by the end of this race. So I'm in good company now. I'm where I need to be. But I've wasted a lot of energy and a lot of effort getting there. Now remember, I started with these guys. They were around me and they've been at the front for a while. So what they did, I don't quite know. Maybe they just whacked it really hard all in one go, recovered and held their position. But I've taken 23 minutes to get to the front of the race. And now I'm in that crucial time of 23 minutes where it all starts kicking off. I see those riders go. I see Rob Scott in front of me and I think, you know what, Rob? I kind of want you to chase that because I've just done quite a bit of work. And now I end up getting swamped because I was kind of holding out for Rob to kick. And now all that work I've done, I'm losing that position again. So I'm just going to have to do this work again in a minute. I get to a certain point where I go, nah, screw it, slam the door and try and follow some wheels. I think I've got Rob Scott in front of me now. He kicks and I kick on his wheel. And now my goal is trying to hold position. So I spent the first 20 minutes of this race, this very fast, wide, open race, doing 48k an hour or more. And my goal has been slowly get to the front. I personally don't think I was the most efficient doing that. Looking back on this, I should have kept more calm, shut the gaps I needed to shut, and then just been patient and waited for the bunch to slow down and then moved up, as opposed to whacking it up the side of the bunch when it's all strung out, going really quick. I feel like I've wasted some big watts there. And these wheelbase guys, man, Jesus, every time I felt like I was going into a corner, they were there sliding up the inside of me. But hey man, they raced well, they're good riders, I can't knock them too much for it. Again, we are cruising up the side of the bunch and I think now I'm getting smashed by the Mazzone brothers. Those boys love a little barge, got to hand it to them. They always got good bunch positioning, they know what they're doing. As we cut forward again, now we are almost 30 minutes into the race, I'd say, maybe 27 minutes into the race. Chatting to Will Smith, oh that's Joey Pidcock, sorry, chatting to Joey Pidcock, I'm a little laugh. He's asking me how I'm doing and I'm going, man, every time, I think there's maybe 4 or 5 riders in this race, they ask me, oh, how you feeling, how's it going? And my response was, dude, I'm in trouble. Anyway, we kick out this turn, we knock it forward a little bit. These PB guys, man, every freaking time, I hated that dude. I don't know who he was, but he was winding me up so much. Every time I got to a corner, little slab inside. But you can see it worked for him. I can't be too mad, it's just racing, it's got to crack on with it. Again, it fans out and bunches up as we are 28 minutes into the race. And I remember asking myself at this point, I go, right, do I want to sit back here and deal with the elastic effect, which we spoke about in previous videos, or do I just want to put in that little bit of extra effort and just get to the front? As I approach Will Smith and Bob Donaldson on the right, Bob even turns to me and goes, here he is, and I go, yeah man, that's about the time I should be showing up. So now I'm at the front of the race and it is time to get involved. But have I spent too much energy to get here? This bit threw me by surprise. Wheelbase dude sticks his hand up and goes, yo, I need some help getting those riders back there off the front. And I think, well, I haven't been here the whole time. I can't just arrive at the front and not really do any work. I don't want to become a pain in the ass for the other riders and get some negative riding towards me. So I thought, you know what, I'll just roll through. I feel quite strong, I feel like I can do it. I'm doing 400 watts, 300 watts, I flick my elbow. No one really comes by. I tighten my shoe hoping someone will come by. I flick to the other side of the road, still no one's come through, so I'm still sitting at like 370 watts. And then finally these boys start pulling through a little bit and I'm sitting here thinking, man, my heart rate's pretty high. What are we looking at here? Like about, 175. I think in this race I kind of maxed out about like 180, but we're still in a good position. As you can see to my right, I have Ollie Wood, you got Ben just coming through there, and then we also had Jim Brown flying through. All riders that are ones to watch and always at the sharp end of races. So I'm in the right position. I've just got to kind of stay here now. Now, I've encouraged the break to be chased by coming through. People have clearly reacted to that and now whacking it as I'm doing everything I can to get to 70k an hour down the climb back on the wheel. And you can see the difference of being at the front here, where I was further back in previous laps, I was always getting dive bombed. I was able to go around that corner without anyone troubling me. With riders like Ollie Wood and stuff behind me, they get it. They know that sitting on my wheel and just following the line is a much more efficient way to ride. As Ollie looks at me all baffled, he sees me trying to find the lap on my on my Wahoo, and he's like, "You trying to turn your camera recorder on?" I'm just like, "Nah, man. I'm just like, I mistakenly didn't press lap, so I had no idea how far into the race this was because I had my warm up included on my time. So I was kind of guessing that was maybe 30-40 minutes into the race." And the reason why I was looking at how long left is because I was really starting to feel it. I was like, man, I'm hurting now, as we have a big attack. I think that's from one of the St. Piran lads going off the front. We've got Ollie Wood here. Kind of bit of deja vu from national champs, just in the seat, starts driving and accelerating away from everyone. And I'm like, oh crap, what do we do here? I've got to follow. This is the moment where I have to dig deep. My heart rate's high. I'm approaching 180 and I'm just trying to grit my teeth and hang on here. Now, as I come through this section, still doing 400-500 watts, I'm really in quite a lot of pain and I'm struggling to get on the wheel in front as I'm well into the 180s on the heart rate. And I get the elbow flick any second now, and I'm just like, oh no, man, I can't let this go. I'm in this position. If I sit up now, that breakaway could just disappear. And there comes the elbow flick, and he very kindly says, "Go get it, man, you got this." And I'm like, you know what, I just got to grit my teeth, get aero, get on the drops and try and mash this out as I'm doing 600 watts when I'm already in the red, trying to get across. The heart rate starts creeping to 182. Now, I can tell you that in this situation right here, I was really on the limit. I flicked my elbow and I had Will Tidmore on my wheel, and he went, "Got a teammate," and I went, fair enough, man, you ain't gonna chase. So I had to bridge the extra gap over, but right on cue, here he comes. He uses that to slingshot off me and try and get to the boys up ahead and lay an attack on himself. And I'm sitting here at this point going, I'm not feeling fantastic at all. Again, luckily not getting dive bombed, so I can carry momentum. It's a bit smoother, but the pace is ripe. It is hot, and I'm really struggling with it. I've got to say, looking at my heart rate, I do feel like something was perhaps a little bit wrong. I thought I had good legs and I was okay once I got the drive out of my legs, but I feel like in this moment where Bob Donaldson comes up on me on the left and really starts whacking it, that my heart rate just won't go any higher. I would expect it to go to the 190s quite easily, maybe sub 200. I just can't go that deep. Jim Brown starts whacking it. Got this rocket rider on the left of me from Scott Redding Racing. M-Bart boy flicks his elbow, and then this boy flicks his elbow after coming through, and I go, man, I'm not letting what happened at Champs happen again, where the race rides away from me. I'm just going to try and get across, and I think Joey Pidcock is in front of me. Strong riding this year for him for sure, and I just about get onto the wheel of him, and I come around this section and I just go, oh, I'm in trouble. I haven't got it. Rob Scott on my wheel, super strong wheel. I move to the left, end up hitting 3 potholes I haven't seen the whole race. And from this moment here, I never go to the front of the race. This is where it all comes crashing down. I'm in so much trouble. I'm really, really blowing, and I'm just going back through the bunch like a rock, like a sinking ship. And I'm looking behind me, looking for Joe Holt, looking for Ollie, looking for some help, and my morale is just cracked. Heart rate's through the roof. I'm still doing like 300 watts now. It's dipped down to like mid to high 200s and back up to 300. But as I fast forward it here, Reece Britton comes past me, and I'm just like, dude, I'm so done. I'm looking around me and everyone's coming past me. So all that work I've done in the first 35 minutes of this race is just coming crashing down around me as I finally see Ollie almost a whole entire lap later. I'm coming up the climb, I'm out the saddle, I'm always in the saddle and that stuff, and that's how you know I'm in trouble. I finally see Joe, I look to him and I go, bro, I'm in so much trouble. He's right at the back, I'm right at the back. I have gone from the very front of this bunch, which is whittled down to about 70 riders from 120. That shows how fast the pace is, and I'm now sitting at the very back. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I just skipped forward 5 minutes. I do not move this position. I'm just trying to hang on. Every time we get to this section, I grit my teeth and I just try and hold on. It felt so hard. I was a bit baffled at how long we had left. I was expecting to see a lap board, maybe like saying 10 laps to go or something a bit earlier. We're now coming into like 56 minutes, but I got dropped, or I had to go back from the front to the back at like 35 minutes in. That 20 minutes is just a blur to me. I cannot tell you what happened in that 20 minutes. It was just hanging on. I couldn't move up. It was just survival. I banged the raw velo gel and I've got to this point here, 2 laps to go. I try and recover some sort of energy after wasting all that energy earlier, watching the race ride away from me. And I go, well, I've got 2 laps to go. Can I try and salvage a 10th place from this, like I said I wanted to do? I can hear on a tannoy there are riders away. I've soon found out that rider was Bob Donaldson with Will Smith as we're coming to 2 to go, and I think there's one other rider with them. They are whacking it on the front. I'm doing 300 watts in the wheel, trying to save as much energy as I can, and then I see it all fan out, and I can't tell you how happy I was to see this opportunity come in front of me. And I think, right, it's last opportunity. If I can just get to the front of the bunch now, I can maybe salvage a 10th place, which will save my bacon at Ilkley. I should have looked around for Joe. I didn't see Joe get on me, but he does get on my wheel. Cruising up the bunch, 400 watts, trying not to go into the red too much, even though I'm already gassed. And I get to this point and I hesitate. I should have just sent it there. That's my big mistake. If I'd sent it straight into London Dynamo rider, I think his name's Rowan, I could have put myself in that position. But I've got Jim Brown on my right here. Jim Brown, he actually finishes 3rd in this race. And I'm thinking, right, I'm in a good position with Jim here. If I can just recover in this section whilst my heart rate's at 180. Remember, I'm fatigued. I've used up pretty much 98% of my resources. And I'm just hoping, can I get through this section and maybe move back up on the final climb and try and get 10th in this race to be in a position of trying to win Ilkley on Friday, hoping that I have better legs and better form. But we come here, this bit's always a bit of a lottery. It's always super sketchy. Joe's next to me now. I've had to slam my brakes on a little bit. There's a big little kerfuffle here. I slam my brakes on, momentum has gone, and all of a sudden, everyone's come around me. I've lost about another 20 positions already. It's just a little bit of luck. You're either on the right-hand side or the wrong-hand side of the road in this situation when the bunch is moving fast. And unfortunately, I was in the wrong situation. Yes, I shouldn't have been there really. I should have just been up the front and being in the right position to battle for position for the sprint as I come through with 1 to go, coming up the hill. This bit can often slow down, so I keep myself in it, keeping the pedals tight, keeping the chain tight, hoping that it all slows down again. But it's just single file, man. I'm 350 watts, doing 400 watts. It's feeling like 600-700 at this point. It's the last lap of the race, hour and a half in. I can feel that 5 hours of driving in my legs. Something just doesn't feel right. And at this point, I go, nah, I'm calling it. I'm out. I can't do this any longer. And I think I've seen so many crashes down the back straight here. There's no point me riding for 30th place in a bunch, especially in such a sketchy bunch finish like this one where you're going 75k an hour into it, and I park it. And I decide that's it, race over. What can I say? It was just an unfortunate day, really. I feel like I'm starting to sound like a bit of a broken record when I'm doing these reviews. It is good for me to look back on it and, like, you know, really critique myself. But what I did is I didn't start too far back. I started with the winners of the race. Bob Donaldson won. He stayed away on his own in the last lap. Jim Brown 3rd place, I think, and Ben was ended up 4th. So, you know, all those riders that started around me were up there at the beginning. But I wasted too much energy. What I did do, which was really wrong, is that when I wasted or spent a lot of energy getting to the front, I went straight in to riding, attacking, and trying to get in the mix, and that was a bit of a no-no. So that was the big takeaway there. You know, you just got to, like, if you make a big effort, try and recover before making a big one. But anyway, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Peace.